Hello and welcome to another live post-game edition of the Nittany Dispatch. I'm John Sauber, Penn State beat writer at the Center Daily Times. She's Audrey Snyder, doing the same at InsideTheLions.substack.com. And Audrey, I almost slipped up on that one and fell into old habits.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that could have been bad.
Well, you know who didn't? I'm great. You know who didn't fall into old habits today? The Nittany Lions.
Yes, they actually – this to me – so Penn State obviously wins 28-10 over Michigan State here in – I almost said Ann Arbor – in East Lansing at Spartan Stadium. And to me, this felt like what it was supposed to look like this whole time. You know what I mean? Like, this is what they were chasing, this mentality, this ram the ball down your throat. You can't – this offensive line leans on the defensive line to close out a win in the second half. It's not pretty, but they get it done because they're so much more physically dominant. And to me, this was like the vision, right? Like, this is what James Franklin wanted this to look like going into this year. And this was kind of, yes, it's a bad Michigan State team, the worst one in the Big Ten. But at some point, you have to get the job done, and they did. And they finally sort of, played out exactly how they were supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll push back a little bit on this being the script, because obviously when you're dealing with a backup quarterback all season or most of the season, this isn't it. But yeah, I think to your point of the physicality. Terry Smith, remember a few weeks ago, I believe it was, I asked him about the offensive line and how he thought they were performing, and he challenged them. One of his first things when he took over in this role was he challenged them to be more physical up front. And we heard from all starting 5 offensive linemen came into the media room together post-game because they wanted to make a statement that after Katron Allen carried the ball 25 times for 181 yards and 2 touchdowns, this was a statement win for this team in a season where not much has gone right. But they wanted to say, hey, remember us, this offensive line? We can run block. We can have a good run game. So we saw that tonight. And I think, this win in a season where pretty much nothing has gone right, this was definitely the feel-good moment. I mean, Terry Smith gets the Gatorade shower. Their offensive linemen are lifting Terry Smith, carrying him around the field. We could hear the cheering from the locker room. Tonight was all about the feel-good moment. I mean, that's, to me, like, that's all we're probably going to remember from tonight.
Yeah, and I'm sure it feels a little weird for fans to be celebrating like this for a win over a Michigan State team that is an abject disaster. But, like, these players deserve this, right? Like, it was nice interviewing people that were happy for once, right? Like, we've spent the last, like, two months talking to people who are frankly miserable. Like, Zachy Wheatley said that it was like 50-50 between relief and happiness, right? Like, they were clearly feeling this burden on their shoulders. And they were finally able to get rid of that tonight, and they were able to get a win. And I don't know. I don't know that this changes anything. Like, I don't think they're going to actually – this gave me less confidence that they're going to beat a team like Nebraska, right? Just because this is this Michigan State team's really bad, and they struggled with them for a little bit still. That being said, the defense was incredibly good outside of the first offensive play for Michigan State. They only gave up 3 points after that. But, this, like, it is like I said, it's a bit of a bummer, I'm sure, for those guys too, because I'm sure there's a level of, like, where was this the whole time? Where was this against UCLA and Northwestern and other bad teams in the Big Ten? Why couldn't they take care of business then? I'm sure they'll be lamenting that at some point, but for once, they are just celebrating. I do want to say real quick, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, don't forget to leave 5-star ratings and reviews. If you are watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button down below. Hit the subscribe button down below. We greatly appreciate it. If you're in the live chat, leave questions for us. We are going to talk about the coaching search because that has changed a lot over the last 48 hours. But we're going to focus on the game here first. It just seems like it seems like a relief for everyone, and almost like, okay, now everyone can kind of move on in peace sort of thing. Is that too far? Like, it feels like they kind of finally had a moment together as a group.
Yeah, I think that this was a moment. It was a nice moment. It was a celebratory moment. They were happy. They were excited. Most importantly, John, the Land-Grant Trophy's coming home.
Oh, God.
We could talk about that, too, because I'm going to, even if you don't want to.
Yeah, and I really don't want to, and you know that.
The trophy was on the field at the end, and the point I'm about to make speaks to Terry Smith and kind of the broader confidence that he's trying to instill in this program. And Keon Wiley was telling me afterward that I said, oh, well, you were lifting up the Land-Grant Trophy after the game. What surprised you about it? And he said, yeah, it's really heavy, which is always kind of the response you get from players when they go to lift this thing. You see the look on their faces, and they're like, oh. Yes. But Terry Smith told Keon Wiley, Dom DeLuca, and Dakari Nelson, 3 guys who sit in the front row of the meeting rooms. Wiley said that Terry told them early in the week, hey, you 3 are in charge of the trophy when we win. So when we win, you 3 are getting the trophy and, making sure we get it to the locker room. So sure enough, those guys remembered their jobs, did their duty, picked up the trophy. And then, of course, everybody's posing for photos with it. Anthony Donko got in some photos, and he laughed afterward and said, yes, that carrying Terry was probably lighter than carrying the land-grant trophy.
I do believe that, by the way.
Yeah, I definitely think that's probably possible. I got to give a history lesson today to Trevor Pena. I said
he got way more than he wanted out of that.
Well, I said to him, as a transfer coming in here, I'm going to guess you probably had no idea this was a trophy game. And he said, yeah, you're right. I had no idea. And he goes, I'm confused as to why it is. Can you explain it to me? And John, that's my music. So
yeah, I know it is.
So as soon as he said that, man, I perked up. I got excited, and I said, okay, well, here's why: 2 land-grant institutions. And then he goes, well, I saw like the Spartan and the Lion. Like, why are there 2 things? I said, well, each school gave 1 thing to put on the trophy. And he goes, oh, that's kind of pretty cool. So again, I got to deliver a history lesson. And no, he was not lying. He was very, very sincere. The trophy, because again, you have the weird little, like the little actual dangly trophy piece on the top that is an equipment manager's worst nightmare because it always falls off. The offensive lineman said they made sure to dip the trophy through the doorways as to not knock the top piece off. So
we did hear some loud noises from the locker room. I had assumed it was the whole trophy.
No. Well, you can't shatter it because it's wood. But
you can try.
They said that the trophy is in good hands, so that'll be getting lugged back to State College, where it'll remain until, I don't know, when do these guys play again?
I think 2027, but I'm not 100%
sure.
So for
all of the flaws of this season, all of the changes, man, the new head coach is going to come in
and have a trophy.
What the hell is this
trophy?
Case. Like, why? Like, what if the new coach just is like, this is junk, get rid of it?
I would appreciate that. I know you wouldn't, but I would appreciate that.
In fact, the first time we meet the head coach, if we're in the building, I would say, excuse me, can you explain to me your thoughts on this trophy? Where are you going to display it?
I want you to know that is the absolute last thing that I want to happen, which tells me that it absolutely actually will happen. But yeah, I think outside of that aspect of it, I do think this defense was kind of what we thought it would be for once, right? Like, it was suffocating. The pass rush was awesome. Now, part of that is they physically overmatched the Michigan State offensive line, and these are guys, Dani Dennis-Sutton, when they have a physical advantage, they can eat, right? Like, they can get after it, get whatever they want in the backfield.
We saw it in non-conference play, yep.
Yeah, and so I think this was kind of that's indicative of Michigan State's talent level. I don't know. Feels like there's a chance that was Jonathan Smith's last game as Michigan State's head coach, or maybe it should have been. We'll see where that goes. But yeah, this again, I think that's part of like why it's not a bummer, but like I'm sure there's some contemplating about like why this didn't happen sooner. And I think the honest answer to that is we don't know, right? Like they for whatever reason things just kept getting in this team's way, and the 50-50 bounces that usually end up around 50-50, like those one possession games, they're just like losing all of them. And when that happens, there's not a ton you can do.
Yeah, there's probably some crazy like statistical analysis of Penn State this season when you look at win probability of where they were at in the Indiana game, and you look at, I always think back to the bounce in the Oregon game in that first overtime, the fumble, and if they recover that, or if they get a stop on 4th down in that first overtime. I mean, there's so many moments this season where you're going to think back, and it's like a fan's worst nightmare, because you say, man, there's so many different ways where this thing could have turned. And, John, the team that we saw today that won is the same team that took Indiana to the brink. And it's the same team that took Oregon to a second overtime. And it's the same team that played a good half against Ohio State, but yet it's also the same team that lost to UCLA, that lost to Northwestern, that lost to Iowa. I mean, it's a team that just got their first win today since September 13th. And I keep asking, whenever we get these assistant coach coordinator calls on Thursdays, I keep asking all of them the same question, which is simply, where did it go wrong this season? And obviously on the record in those public settings, you're not going to get the most forthright answer. Like, I don't expect that, but I do think it's important that we have something on the record, because where this whole season just, imploded is the storyline here. But yeah, I mean,
and I do think the real reason why it all imploded was the weight of the Oregon game, right? Like looking back, they put so much energy into it. Yeah, I think it broke everybody in the building, right? That was supposed to be the one. And when it didn't go their way, I don't think they quit. I just think there's like doubt crept in, right? And then 1 leads to 2, 2 leads to 3, 3 leads to 4, and
4
this
leads
is how it
to
goes.
6. And
4 leads to 6, but it does not lead to 7, and that is important.
That's very important, because if Penn State wins out, they can go to a bowl game. A point that Terry Smith made after the game, John,
and a point that I am seeing quite a bit in the live chat, and I just please no.
New York,
don't do that to me. We will get into the coaching search here, though. I think this is probably a good time to take a quick break for some words from our sponsors. One play can change a season. One upset can silence a stadium. With every snap, the stakes get higher, and no one brings you closer to the action than DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook for live betting. From live betting to odds boosts and so much more, DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to stay in the action from kickoff to the final whistle. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $300 in bonus bets instantly. Own every Saturday with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DISPATCH. That's code DISPATCH to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21+ age eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets. Will expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
John, you've got the Roback Triple Crown going on today.
Yes, I do.
If I'm thinking correctly.
Yes.
The hat, the hoodie,
and
the joggers.
Yes, the joggers are a must for me with a lot of these games, especially, you know what I mean? Like, it's getting a little chillier, but I also like, with the environment changes, because we go from being on the field to upstairs, it's just nice and comfortable at all times.
Our friends at Roback have 20% off for new customers who use code TND20. That's TND20, as in the Nittany Dispatch 20. You can save 20% off your first Roback purchase. And again, holiday shopping around the corner. Never too early to get ahead.
Buy the golfer in your life some Roback. That's my recommendation. Am I talking to my wife specifically right now? Maybe. Who's to say? No, let's get to the coaching
That's
search.
cute that you think she's actually even watching this.
She does. Here's the thing. I don't know if I've said this on the pod before. My dog loves listening to the pod. He loves the sound of my voice, which is very sweet. That's why he's wonderful. So the podcast does play in the house. I just don't know if any humans are actually listening. Yeah. So let's get to the coaching search. There is a lot here. It is fitting that the timing of over at centerdaily.com, where you can read all of my work, and don't forget to read Audrey's work at insidelines.substack.com. This week we ran a predictions roundtable, and I predicted Mike Elko to be hired as the head coach, which, listen, that's where it was at the moment. Things change, blah, 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 all of that. Yeah. Mike Elko is not going to be Penn State's next head coach. I feel confident saying that. I would anticipate him, as it's been reported everywhere, signing an extension soon. There will be people that say, do the I told you so, this was never happening. I don't think that was the case.
There were some legs. There were for sure some legs.
There were a lot of conversations. I don't think it was an easy decision, quite frankly. But Mike Elko will be staying at Texas A&M. Nearly lost to South Carolina today. Yeah. I may have made the joke a few times that he was going to be the first coach to sign an extension and get fired in the same week. It was a tough go, but Texas A&M pulled it out. Audrey, they were the only SEC team, though, I think, relevant to Penn State that earned a victory. And that is because the Crimson Tide couldn't get it done. No,
the Kalen DeBoer door is swinging open. The DeBoer door. You heard it here first on the Nittany Dispatch. Yeah, I think this is the result that you were hoping for if you're a Penn State fan, you're listening. And again, you were
in the Penn State athletic department.
Yeah, I mean, this is your last realistic, and I say realistic, and I know we're probably going to get dragged for the same old, why would you leave Alabama? Well, I don't know. Let's listen to Alabama talk radio this week and see how pleasant it's going to be. And if you're a head coach, again, I think there are some similarities to the James Franklin situation where it's like, okay, it gets frustrating. You're tired of banging your head against the wall. and you want to change the scenery, and it's good for both sides. Like, that maybe is what we're getting at with Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. And all along, we kind of set the table and said, hey, if Alabama flames out, if this happens, you're back in the mix. And I think that's where we're at now with this search. But yeah, I mean, the Elko piece, I just want to go back to this real quickly. Penn State had their shot. They took their shot. Mike Elko made his decision. A&M continues on their way. And the thing that I think maybe fans are missing on here, perhaps as they cut the lights in the stadium. I was going to say, the lights just say, this keeps happening. Just because you think someone maybe is going to tell you no, doesn't mean you don't take that shot. You don't take that opportunity. You don't have that conversation. You have to do it. And Penn State's doing their due diligence right now with it. So, again, I think it's notable. But, yeah, there was a lot of scoreboard watching.
If Penn State thought there was no chance they would get these coaches, the conversations would not be happening, right? They wouldn't be chasing.
You wouldn't be doing your job. Like, that's, I think, the other part of it. And, again, remember what you're selling. You are selling Penn State University. You are selling a program that is committed to winning. You are selling a program that has the infrastructure in place to win and to win right away. Again, you don't get rid of James Franklin and just say, hey, we're just content being middle of the road or whatever, or what, this and that, man, make the playoffs some years. No, like, they're going all in. And can we talk about James Franklin real quick? Because that's the other big domino.
Well, I think let's continue on DeBoer. We will get to James Franklin.
More on DeBoer.
Yeah, stop, please. I'm begging. The Alabama game matters. It's not like they're not guaranteed to miss the playoff or anything like that because they got their second loss. They do have one of the worst losses of all these teams with that loss to Florida State at the beginning of the year. And Oklahoma at home is not a great loss. It's not a bad loss because Oklahoma's probably going to make the playoff as long as they went out. But it's still not like you end up in a situation where you're the last two teams and Oklahoma probably gets in on the tiebreaker because they have the head-to-head win, I would think, or I would hope if the committee's paying attention.
Yeah, committee might be
that would be a whole other conversation. But like this is an Alabama team that is now on the brink, right? Like they are no longer shoe in, like gonna be in the SEC title game, gonna do everything they want, have everything in front of them. They also have a matchup with Auburn at the end of the year, and I know everyone will say it's Auburn, they're terrible, there's a reason Hugh Freeze got fired, all that stuff. Rivalry games are weird. One of these days, Ryan Day is going to get fired despite having like 7 national titles because he hasn't beaten Michigan yet.
Well,
right?
if it didn't happen last year, he's bought himself some time.
Yes. But like, you know what I mean? Like I'm kidding, by the way, with the Ryan Day stuff. But like that's how this goes. Like the rivalry games, especially the biggest ones, are really weird. And I wouldn't be surprised if Auburn wins that game. And if that happens, oh boy, then I think a lot of things are happening. In Penn State's favor, quite frankly.
I just pulled up the schedule. It's Alabama plays Eastern Illinois next week.
It's just Auburn. Yes,
and then Auburn. Yeah,
it's just Auburn. But yeah, I think this is it's favorable. Clear that. How do I say this? I think that Mike Elko was their top target, and I think Kalen DeBoer isn't far behind, if at all. Right? Like I think he is in that conversation, if not right alongside. I know I'd mentioned Marcus Freeman in the past. I still don't anticipate that being the case. I think Freeman, if he leaves, it's going to be for the NFL. I just don't think it's going to be for Penn State. But again, they're going to keep trying.
Can I keep making the Chicago Bears head coach Marcus Freeman? No.
Sure, why not?
Not this year, maybe, but maybe next year.
But no, I think that I'm not crossing him off the list, but I do think that is potentially an option. I do think too, like you get to the next tier, it's Brent Key is probably the name at the top of that tier, but I don't think that's a given. Brent Key almost lost to Boston College today. Not great.
Hello, Brian.
Win is a win, important to get them, but yeah, not ideal. But yeah, I think right now this is the first kind of clarity we've had with this search. I think Elko being out is that kind of clarity. I will say I would have been very interested in seeing what would have happened had they lost to South Carolina today. Given the timing of everything.
Is the ink dry?
I think or even there yet. I think that would have been fascinating. Yeah, we'll get to James Franklin now, though. I will let you take this because you were so eager to talk about it.
Yeah, because I've been very intrigued by where James Franklin should maybe sort of potentially end up. And so there's some reporting that came public Saturday as we were driving to Lansing to cover this game, and Pete Thamel reported on game day that James Franklin and Virginia Tech are in early discussions about James Franklin potentially becoming the Hokies' next head coach.
He sure did, didn't he, Audrey?
I will not classify them as early discussions.
No.
These are ongoing discussions that are very far along in their process, to the point where I think if James Franklin is going to do this, we will probably know within the next 48 hours, probably. And if it doesn't happen then I think you say, oh, well, is a Jimmy Sexton client going to take the first job, right? Like, I think that's the Virginia Tech reason why you maybe get some pause there. But it also makes a lot of sense on paper when you say, you know what, is this the best that Virginia Tech can do? Yes, I think James Franklin is the best that program can do. Is it the best that James Franklin can do? I think right now, the way it sits, it could be, because you look at it and you say, well, if Florida State doesn't come open,
if Florida State even wants him,
again, that's a big if.
It sure
if
is.
Auburn would be interested, if they would not be interested, big if, as the Tigers move on with their search. I do not believe that James Franklin will be in the mix there. I don't think. Again, things can change. But you look at kind of James and the regional fit, right? I think that would be fascinating. Also, who would be on that staff? Like, I am very intrigued to see if he says yes to this, if they get to that point. And, of course, Penn State, your rooting interest, Penn State fans, you want this man to take a job, because then the contract mitigation comes in, and then all of a sudden that $48 million that people were losing their minds about, saying, oh, Penn State's going to lose all this money, this is why they can't fire him. Yeah, if the man gets a job, and again, this is the same person who went on College Game Day less than a week after he was fired and was like, I can't wait to go back to work somewhere. James Franklin is very much sounds and is saying the things of a man who wants to coach. If you want to coach and you want to coach next season, Virginia Tech, come on down.
Well, and here is sort of my read on the situation, I guess, right? Like, James Franklin wants to coach next year, but he wants to put himself in a position to win a national title. I think it's fair to wonder if that's Virginia Tech, if Virginia Tech is the best opportunity to do that. I don't feel like getting in the discussion about between Virginia Tech and Arkansas or whatever. You know what I mean? All those jobs. I think it's fair to wonder about that. I also think Virginia Tech needs to get this going, right? Like, they have decisions to make, because the type of coaches that they could theoretically look at, Bob Chesney from James Madison, who's a Pennsylvania native, who I've talked about on here before, will be candidates elsewhere. I saw someone say in the chat earlier, my apologies, I can't find it currently, but apparently CBS reported today that UCLA wants him. I sort of heard some things along those same lines.
Chesney, Chesney,
yes, yes. And so I think that could put pressure on Virginia. Yeah, I don't.
Imagine that one, Sir, this is where it all ended. Welcome.
But I think that is going to put pressure on Virginia Tech to get something done with James, because if they don't get him, if they will want to pivot to someone like Chesney. And I think Chesney would, probably want the Virginia Tech job more than UCLA. But at the end of the day, you get offered what you get offered. And if UCLA offers it and Virginia Tech's still waiting on James, then I think that's obvious which way that would go. So I guess all that is to say, I think we're going to get resolution soon. I still lean toward, I think James will be the head coach at Virginia Tech. I'm not saying that with certainty. He can change his mind. We are very well aware of that. But I think that there's been enough of a push to make that happen. And like you said, that's really important for Penn State for the mitigation. We'll see what that ends up looking like.
Why else it's important, John?
What's that?
So the man can get an apparel deal with the next school, because we saw this was during seeing James Franklin at the Old Dominion game Thursday night. He was there to support Ricky Ronnie, which not a surprise. Those guys
and Jared Parker, who was at Troy, or who was at Troy's head coach and was playing
was at Penn State for a hot second. One of many wide receivers coaches that have churned through this program. James Franklin shows up there at Old Dominion, and he's in regular clothing, non-team issued gear, which is weird because we've only seen, as all these coaches, you only see them in team issued gear all the time, and you're like, oh, it's James Franklin in jeans. And these are not blue and white sneakers. What are these sneakers? I still have no idea what they were. It was different. We saw the man out amongst the wild in public. So, yeah, that's another reason why he can get that regimented routine back that he likes if he wants to hop back in. Again, it's only – this is what's so crazy about this. He's been out of work for a month. And honestly,
it feels like it's been 3 years.
Yes. I had this realization the other day when I was flying out here, and I was like, we're a month into the coaching search. It feels like Penn State has been doing this for 3-4 months, but it's just where we're at.
It feels never ending at this point. Let's get to some questions in the chat. If you have them, don't forget to leave them. Greatly appreciate everyone who does. I think we addressed this last pod, but just because it's there again, asking about Brian Dable, former New York Giants head coach, becoming Penn State's head coach. Nope. Don't think you have to worry about that one. Question here about do we think Pat Kraft having to be on the sidelines in the middle of the action is going to drive away coaches? I don't think so. I think, a lot of coaches appreciate the passion. I'm sure some may not, but I don't think it's not like he's down there like trying to call plays or anything like that. I think some people intimate he's just an excitable guy who can be somewhat over the top with his reactions and stuff. But I think it's part of the passion that he has, right? Like he cares and he wants to win and he cares about the players and the coaches alike.
And I think that's, again, it depends on the personality fit. Like, do you want someone who is hands-on and involved, or do you want someone who is really taking a back seat? And I say hands-on involved in the terms of, like, so much of the spending, the willingness to spend, the alignment that James Franklin spoke so much of, and the improvements from the previous administration to the current one. That's what you're going to get here. I mean, I think you're stepping into whoever it is who gets this job. It's a stable situation. I also think, too, and you and I were talking about this today with regards to different Penn State coaching staffs. This is not a place that fires people frequently. Like, this is – I mean, you pointed to the basketball programs. Like, there's –
Pat Chambers got so many chances. It was crazy. I thought Pat Chambers was going to get fired like 6 times, and that was before I was even on the beat. That was when I was a student at Penn State still. Which does bring me to this. I saw this in the chat, and this is going to be a question for Audrey because of the time period being referenced. I was 19 years old. So do you guys know who the other options were when Franklin was hired? I do know that Al Golden was a name bandied about at the time, but that's all I know.
I got stumped on this. I did a radio hit like 48 hours after James Franklin was fired, and somebody asked me this, and I was like, honestly, I don't remember other than Al Golden, and that was being the name. Well, and obviously the ties, like, that makes sense, but –
was that the cycle that Charlie Strong ended up at Texas? Is that? I think that was. It might have been. It really might have been.
It was so long ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, a lot of the people when a lot of the people that were involved in that search just aren't here either. And for me, like I first year full time on the beat was 2021. I did secondary stuff 2 years before that. I wasn't in journalism until 2019. So this was half a decade before I even started my career.
And this was also, Penn State was in a really weird spot too because of the sanctions and the fact that Dave Joyner was like the acting athletic director. And James Franklin always said, I would tell people, if you're in the same position that I was in, do not take that job. Like, do not take this job with an acting athletic director. You don't know who the president is. So you don't really know who your bosses are going to be. And they still had sanctions. And it was an appealing job, but it wasn't the most appealing job. So I've keep saying throughout this search, this is the first time that we've seen Penn State go through a coaching search in normal circumstances since Joe Paterno got elevated to head coach.
Well, and I will say too, if I remember correctly, James was like a pretty sought after candidate at the time. Like, he was seen as like one of the big fish out there.
Because there were rumors, I think, was it Texas with him at the time? Because I remember talking.
That's why I mentioned Charlie Strong, because I can't remember when. Yeah,
because I know, happened. And James was he was like the hot name, and it was, and honestly, when he got hired at Penn State, the thought that a lot of us had was, all right, this guy hops around a lot. He'll be 2 3 years.
3 years and gone. Yeah. No, and I think that's fair. And 12 years later, here we are, or 11 plus years later, here we are. Someone said, when will Penn State have a realistic candidate? It ain't DeBoer. Listen, I actually fully understand that sentiment, right? Like, I feel the need to say this every podcast. We are not telling you right now who Penn State is going to hire. We are telling you who they're trying to hire. We are not saying that. We're not saying what they're doing is right or wrong or whatever. We're just saying where it's at. And I think one thing people have a hard time with is Penn State is kind of comfortable with where it's at. Like they're comfortable chasing those candidates and then knowing if they have to move on to that next year, that they will do it. And that's not to say that they're not talking to those people too, but they're comfortable going on the chase right now, right? Like there's no hire, I hate to break it to everyone, is being made to at least 2 weeks from now, if not longer.
Yeah,
and so I think they're comfortable in that position more so than the fans are. And I fully and listen, I get it as a fan too, right? Like you want your team to make a hire, you want to know what it's going to look like, you want to start looking at their roster, who could Penn State get, what assistants could they get, all that stuff. But right now, Penn State's comfortable. Yeah, Penn State's comfortable chasing candidates that maybe are viewed as unrealistic or what have you.
I want to hit on this too,
making that chase,
because you said about coaches that could stay or go. We had a chance post game, and this was jarring. We had a chance to talk with Darius Dixon, the freshman cornerback.
That name got announced to us that Darius Dixon was going to be in there, and I like my head turned immediately. I was like, really?
So like inside baseball context, Penn State, like many college football programs, you do not talk the true freshman. It didn't matter if it was Saquon Barkley, if it was Rob Bolden when he was starting at quarterback. God, that's a blast from the past.
It's an archaic, useless policy for what it's worth.
You don't talk to them because they want to do media training, whatever. A lot of it's just we've always done it this way. This is a lot of schools. But so Darius Dixon comes in, and I did not hear them say that. I think this was when I was delivering my dissertation on the Land-Grant Trophy to Trevor Pena. And so I turned my head, and I was like, who is this? And I see like the name tag on the book bag, and I was like, oh, this is Darius Dixon. Like, I want to hang here. And part of that being I wanted to ask him, and did, hey, your future, what are you thinking? Because again, and we're going to keep asking.
Young kid from across the country.
Young kid across the country, super talented. This is somebody that Penn State has been gassing up, and rightfully so, since spring ball. And he said, he's just focused on the rest of this season, and then, he'll kind of figure it out, which, again, that's what you expect they're going to say. I totally get that. I respect that, but we have a job to do. We're going to ask.
Yep.
But this is somebody that is going to be one of those players when you talk about the portal. We did not see Chaz Coleman.
I think
he's out again today with an injury. So, again, that's another name that you're making the list of guys you really, really want to keep or try to keep.
I feel like it's important to say it's everyone. There's nobody that is like it is everyone that will have options, right? Like Pat Kraft pretty much said it at his press conference when he introduced Terry Smith. He knows that there are schools inevitably back channeling their players already. Like it is everyone. And I understand like making the list of players you want to keep. I just think it's tough to say until we know the scheme, right? Like it's tough to say 100%. Until we know. Now, that being said, there are talents that transcend it. I think Dixon is probably one, but still cornerbacks can be dependent. I think Chaz Coleman is an obvious one. I think potentially Kobe Howard. Like there will be guys, but I think right now I just don't want anyone to get attached to anyone. I have friends who are Penn State fans, and I tell them all the time, like I would divorce yourself from everyone in the building right now because we just don't know. And I think that's the best way to put it.
It's tough. I mean, we heard from Ethan Grunkemeyer this week who said, hey, like he loves Penn State. He'd love to be here. But he also is like, I don't know. Like, I don't know who that coach is going to be, what the offense is going to be.
If he's a fit, if they want him, if he wants to play for them.
How many guys this coach brings in. And again, I don't know how much or how little of this we will see until if it happens. But if James Franklin's at Virginia Tech, who then from this team maybe let's
put a pin in this discussion. Let's have it.
Is that a future podcast discussion?
Because I think if it happens, we'll be talking about it early next week. And again, I said if, to be clear. Another question here. Someone said, what about Will Stein? Listen, you don't got to tell me twice. I think Will Stein is fantastic. That's a name I would watch though with a lot of openings. I think UCLA is among them. I know Bob Chesney obviously there too. As someone mentioned earlier, that was reported today. I think I said this probably like what feels like 18 years ago, probably closer to 18 days ago. But I think Will Stein is someone that Penn State has had conversations with. And again, they've had conversations with a lot of people. Like he's not like 104 or anything like that. But I do think that he is someone that they're intrigued by, as I think a lot of good coordinators are. Someone mentioned real quick, I think it's getting clear. It's Drinkwitz or Hartline. I think people need to relax on the Brian Hartline thing. I still don't understand it. Drinkwitz, more likely than Hartline.
I was just going to say I can't say it.
I know. Good. Tell me after the podcast.
Can't say it. I will.
I think Drinkwitz is the push behind Drinkwitz right now kind of doesn't exactly line up with what I've heard. Someone they're interested in. I believe that's the case. But I don't know if he is as like I said earlier, if we were talking about that tier after those big three coaches, I think I would have Brent Key at the top. Again, things can change. Things happen all the time, but I think that's sort of where I'm at right now. I do want to mention too, someone said they're probably subscribing to Audrey right here. Put it up on the screen for everyone watching on YouTube. Absolutely cannot recommend it enough. InsideLines.substack.com. You can subscribe to me as well at centerdaily.com. Someone said, ask a Giants fan what they think of Brian Dable. I think that is a good way to put it.
No. But here's the thing. Do not get your grubby paws on Jeff Hafley this weekend. Let him alone. Let my Packers DC alone. He's not going to be your Giants head coach.
Someone asked, how do we feel about Grunk's improvement? We touched on this a little bit. I think without a doubt, I've been, poo-pooing how he's playing more than anyone, and I'll own that. But he was better this week, more so than I thought. He was calmer. He was under control. There were still some misses. Like, he just doesn't see everything well, but he's a redshirt freshman. And that is really important to note. I guess the reasoning behind me saying that is more, he's a young quarterback who might not be ready to start. And whatever head coach they land is going to want to have a quarterback that they believe in fully, is ready to go right away. And I don't know that Grunkemeyer won't be ready for that come next fall. But I do tend to think that a coach will just want to bring someone in that they know right away they can plug in and will be the starter.
Yeah, this is the guy that can run your offense, knows how you want to do things, can be a leader in your locker room, understanding the cultural fit, the things that the head coach wants. Like, I get all of that. But yeah, Grunk is making strides. And I think the guy that you saw in that second half against Indiana, I think we saw him take another step today. And, the 75-yard touchdown pass to Devonte Ross, one of 2 touchdowns for Ross today. Again, that's Penn State's biggest explosive play since the Peach Bowl with the Tyler Warren touchdown.
That's crazy.
Wild. Like that. I mean, it's insane when you
it's been a rough couple of years for the offense.
But I think to the point that you were making, John, about the fact that this is a redshirt freshman, I mean, nobody thought that Grunkemeyer was playing this year. This was not the expectation at all.
I don't think he did.
No, and we always hear about you prepare like you're the starter, all this. Yeah, but Drew Aller's in front of you, and that was, kind of the expectation that you'd come in, you'd sit, you'd learn. So here you are now working with interim head coach Terry Smith, and Ethan was telling us, I think it was this past week, that he meets with Terry once a week, and Terry comes in and sits down with him, and they have these honest conversations. And I think there's a really unique bond that's being built there where Terry's like, hey, we both were thrown into this together. This is not what either of us signed up for this season. And so there's there's a bond there. But I did want to hit on this because it made me think about it, because Grunk said that, and then Nick Dawkins confirmed it, that Nick gave Terry a game ball afterward, that they wanted him to, to have that moment from tonight. So again, I think that's just a really special moment, and you and I have hit on it a bunch of times. We'll continue to hit on it. Terry Smith should have a future at Penn State if this is where he wants to be. If the next head coach wants him here, it would make a lot of sense to have this guy on your staff. And I think, John, again, we don't know who the head coach is going to be, but having Terry, I think, also gives you a little bit of a better shot to maybe try and retain some of these guys. I know money talks. I know fit talks. I get it. But I think what we are seeing with Terry Smith and what we saw again tonight, these guys play for him. They believe in him. They like him. But one of the things I was talking to Trevor Pena about, I said, how little did you know about the Landgraf Trophy, but also about Terry Smith? And he goes, honestly, I would say what's up to Terry in the hallway a little bit and say hi, but I didn't really know him, which makes perfect sense because you're a wide receiver and he's the cornerbacks coach. And, now he's we're finding out who he is, what he's about. Keon Wiley said, and this is what my story, I'm going to go much deeper on and Inside the Lions for later tonight, but it's about this guy and these players buying into who Terry Smith is as a person. And, Keon Wiley said this is somebody who people don't know how many ways in which he helps us off the field beyond football, that when there's stuff going on in their lives, Terry's the guy. And I think, again, that is just such a valuable asset to have on a staff, someone who knows the place, who obviously can can coach at a high level. We've seen that with the cornerbacks, especially good recruiter. But yeah, I think what we saw tonight again is just a reminder that, hey, Terry Smith can do a lot of good for this next Penn State coaching staff.
Yeah, I think that's you hit the nail on the head with that. Right now, I kind of anticipate Terry being back. We don't know what it'll look like, but I think that would be in everyone's best interest. Someone mentioned in the chat Bob Chesney. We talked about him a little bit earlier. Also an advocate for Bob Chesney. I think, backup plan at Virginia Tech to James Franklin. I think UCLA will have interest there. I think Penn State will probably have to hear no a few more times so they get down to Bob Chesney. I'm not rolling it out. It's hard to cross any names off other than some of the few that we've willingly crossed off several times on this podcast, like Fran Brown. But
Elko, more like Dunzo.
All right, enough of that. Someone said that I said I was hitting the portal and not to get attached because I said don't get attached to anyone. I imagine I will be here, much to the chagrin of some people in the chat. I don't plan on going anywhere right now. There is, I think that is it. One more here, or two more here. Sorry, real quick. So Texas Tech got the most transfer portal players. I'll pull this one up on the screen here for everyone to see. Texas Tech got the most transfer portal players of teams with a winning record. They got 21 players. Do you really think Penn State could get 50 plus and actually compete? I don't know that it'll be 50 plus, although it really does feel like a lot of things could happen.
Yeah.
I think odds are there will be more retention than you anticipate. Than we all. I shouldn't say you. I'm not talking to you who
yeah, John, don't tell me what to think.
I'm talking to me. Than we anticipate. I think there will probably inevitably be more retention as a coach comes in, they like guys on the roster, guys want to stay because as we all know in life, it is easier to just not move than it is to move. And so I think that will happen with a lot of this. There will inevitably be more players back than we anticipate. It's just when I say that, I'm talking about broadly any one specific player I wouldn't get attached to just because you don't we don't know anyone's specific plans just yet.
Moving's a pain. It's pain.
Yeah.
I mentioned
somebody's done it several times.
I mentioned it to King Mac this week in practice. I said, listen, you've moved a lot because of the here and there, back to Alabama, back here. Also, John, that's the subplot. That is the subplot of this coaching search. King Mac, Penn State, Alabama, back to Penn State. Does Kalen DeBoer follow him? That would be wild.
I had not thought of that as my contacts continue to get drier and drier, which I think is an indication that we should probably wrap here soon.
Yeah, they're turning lights on and off next to me. I think they're trying to kick me out.
One more here in the chat. If Penn State doesn't hire a coach until January, would next season be a disaster? I don't know, but I honestly don't think Penn State is going to wait that long.
Can you imagine us in January? I mean, it would give us more time to focus on the Pinstripe Bowl, which could be in play.
I did nothing to you. I gave you a ride to the stadium today. How dare you?
Hopefully I ride back to this.
Yeah, we'll see after that comment.
We'll see, yeah.
I think that is probably a good place to leave it. We will be back.
Yeah. Well,
depending
on the coaching
plan,
search news, usually Tuesday nights.
I got a good way. I got a way to put this. Plan for us to be live Tuesday at 7 p.m. Live on YouTube. If anything were to happen with, say, I don't know, a former Penn State head coach getting hired elsewhere and maybe us going to the intro presser.
Enter Sandman, I hear playing. Is that
just speaking hypothetically here? Let's say that were to happen. Then we will figure out when works, potential travel schedule with being at a potential introductory press conference. We'll figure it out, and we will let everyone know as soon as we can. We try to make sure if you follow us on social media, that is probably the best way to get our updates on when we're going to go live. We try and let everyone know as soon as we know.
Subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and you can be notified.
Yes, you get a notification when we create a live stream as well, which we try to do not long before we go live. But that is a good place to leave it for now. We will, like I said, we will be back soon enough as things happen.
Because next week's Senior Day. Right? Yeah.
I actually asked.
Nebraska, yeah.
We'll get into this midweek. Don't let me forget. I actually asked Dani Dennis-Sutton about this tonight. There's a little tease for those who want to listen midweek. If you want to read all of Audrey's work, you can find it at insidethelions.substack.com. I almost did it again. You can find her on Twitter at @OddSnyder4. Again, it's a good place to get our updates on when we're going to be live. You can find her on Blue Sky at audreysnyder.bsky.social. You can find me on Blue Sky at johnsauber.bsky.social. You can find me on Twitter at John Sauber, that's JONSAUBR. You can find all of my writing at centerdaily.com, the CNTRE daily.com. You can actually find on both of our Twitters right now photos of the phenomenon that has
Land Grant trophy?
overtaken college football, where there were a bunch of shirtless fans
Oh,
twirling
yeah.
their shirts for like a full quarter. It was crazy.
The shirtless dudes in the third quarter. Yeah.
Yes, we appreciate everyone in the chat, everyone watching, everyone listening. Appreciate everyone wishing us well on our travels home.
Thank you. Yes.
Hopefully home in time for the 1:00 football games tomorrow. We shall see.
Well,
But
assuming
until
my flights get there, I will do. We'll
yeah,
see.
true. Some of us are driving. We will see you again Tuesday. Maybe we'll see. We'll let everyone know on our social media. Until then, thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.